What's up guys, I'm here at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort and I'm filming all this footage on my brand new gimbal, the Weebill Lab, but you already know that because you're here watching it now. Let's check it out. So in case you're wondering, all that footage was filmed on a Sony a7 III with a Sony Zeiss 16 to 35mm f4 lens on top of the Weebill Lab. So all of that weighs in at around 4 pounds roughly, and the Weebill Lab will support weights up to 6.6 pounds, and the battery life will run up to 10 hours. So these opinions are my own. I'm not paid or sponsored to say any of this stuff in this video. I'm making this video in hopes that I can help you decide whether or not this gimbal will work for you. With that said, I'm not doing any magic here when I film. All of the shots I achieved here, you can as well. I'm a run and gun videographer, and most of the time I just leave my camera mounted on top of my gimbal and I just grab it and start recording. Most of the gimbal shots you saw there were recorded in 24 frames per second with a couple speed ramps from 120p back to 24p. I like to film gimbal review footage in 24p because clips recorded in 120p that are slowed down, even if there is a little bit of camera movement, it's hardly noticeable anyways because everything is slowed down so much. So right out of the box, I went from the Moza Air 2 to the Weebill Lab, and there's a huge difference in size and weight. And if I had to compare the two, I'd say the Moza Air 2 probably was a little bit smoother with the footage. I preferred the size and the weight of this gimbal so much more. I literally went from about the biggest and heaviest gimbal out there to about the smallest gimbal that I can get that's going to support the Sony a7 III and the Sony Zeiss 16 to 35 lens. So I think out of the box, the motors are set to around 80, and all I did was dial those back to either 70 or 60. I can't quite remember. I would knock it by saying that I wish that you can control the motor speed right on the gimbal, but as of right now of recording this video, you have to connect it through Bluetooth to your phone and then control those settings via the app, which is okay once you get it set. It's just not handy to switch those settings on the fly. So my channel's not about diving into like all the detailed specs of the gimbal, but it's a good gimbal. Look at the footage yourself and you can decide whether or not you think it's going to be good for you. Like I said, I really think this is a terrific gimbal. It's a little expensive, but it's right on par with what basically the market is, right around the $600 mark right now. That's where most of your good gimbals are going to be at. And again, because of the convenient size of this gimbal, it makes it, in my opinion, the best one on the market for what I like to do. If I'm going to be using this gimbal, most of the time I'm taking it somewhere. I'm not just walking around my house filming, and I want it to be small. You know, and it's another thing where you're walking around with all this camera equipment and everyone just stops and stares at you like you're a zombie. So this is at least a little more discreet, a little bit easier to fold up, or, you know, like at Disney, I can tuck it away and it's not so big and just in your face. So I picked up these little quick release plates as well on there, so that way I could at least just slide those out without having to screw and thread the tripod into the base every time I wanted to switch positions. So even though you have to spend 20 bucks and buy 2 of these little quick release connectors, I thought they were well worth it because you've already made the investment in the gimbal. You might as well get the most bang for your buck and the best use out of it. And again, I'm running and gunning basically all the time, so it was convenient to quickly be able to hold it in one hand and just switch those little clips and change the position of the handle on the gimbal. So overall, I think that this gimbal is probably the most versatile gimbal on the market, as well as the most compact form factor that's going to be able to fit most mirrorless cameras, maybe some of the smaller DSLRs. It works with the Sony a7 III just fine. I'm not sure about whether your lens combo is going to work for it, but again, with my lens, I didn't have any issues with mounting this or anything like that. Performance is good. I wouldn't say it's great. It's not perfect, but where it struggled the most was lateral side-to-side movements. It worked really well when I was just going straight on, but if I tried to walk sideways with it, I noticed that's where the gimbal's gonna struggle. Maybe just with my camera with the weight of it, I'm not sure. It wasn't terrible, but what I did notice is when it was gonna have like a little jerk or a little hiccup in the footage, it was more than likely when I was moving sideways trying to keep the gimbal and the camera straight. But it didn't really ruin any of the shots for me. I think in the opening sequence, you can see a little bit of a shake. When I was on the beach, it went, just a little sideways when I was trying to do a 360 degree around my wife on the beach. But other than that, like I said, the footage is still really good. I could dial down the settings with the motor speed and probably iron a lot of that out. But I thought that 60 or 70 was kind of the sweet spot for the motor speed for me, just trying to film and keep up with my son. There is the go mode, but you got to be careful with that go mode. I think that if you try to use that too much, it just stiffens the motors too much, and I think you're going to get noticeable shake. But that's something that I'd have to try out a little bit more. But again, 60 or 70 on the motor speed is working out great for me, and I'm not throwing away footage. So for the most part, that's what you saw in the opening sequence there, and it's working out for me, and I think it could work out for you. So overall, I'm really, really happy with the purchase. This is going to be something that I'm going to continue to use for hopefully a long time until something else comes out that entices me more to buy it. And a side note, the desk that my computer and everything is set up on where I like to film right here, the Weebill Lab is perfect for I'm mounting my camera right now on top of the Weebill Lab because it allows me to get what I feel like is a better perspective. Before I was using just a standard tripod behind the desk and it was a little bit further away from my face. So this allows me to be perfectly head high and be able to get my camera a little bit closer, which is going to sound a little bit better, and I feel like it looks a little bit better. So as a side note, it's working for me in my use case as a nice tripod on top of my desk. So hopefully you guys like this video. If it helped you at all, make sure you like it and subscribe before you get out of here. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those down below and I'll do my best to answer those. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next video.